Avos, Gimel Tet Vav. Everything is known. Permission is granted, and the world is judged with goodness. Yet everything is in accordance with the abundance of deeds, spread over all the living. The shop is open, the merchant extends credit, the ledger is open, and the hand writes.
Hold on,
Whoever
hold on. Wait, you started.
I'm doing yours. I'm doing yours, aren't I?
No, you're not. You're not. But you skipped the first sentence of Mishnah Tesain.
You're right. Okay. Abundance of deeds. That was the last part. He used to say everything is given with a guarantor, and a net is spread over all the living. The shop is open, the merchant extends credit, the ledger is open, and the hand writes. Whoever wishes to borrow may come and borrow. The collectors make their rounds constantly every day and collect payment from the person, whether he realizes it or not. And they have what to rely upon. The judgment is truthful judgment, and everyone is ready for the banquet. Reb Eliezer ben Azariah says, if there is no Torah, there is no proper conduct. If there is no proper conduct, there is no Torah. If there is no wisdom, there is no fear of God. If there is no fear of God, there is no wisdom. If there is no understanding, there is no knowledge. And if there is no knowledge, there is no understanding. If there is no flour, there is no Torah. If there is no Torah, there is no flour. He used to say, anyone whose wisdom exceeds his practices, actions, to what is he likened? To a tree whose branches are numerous, but whose roots are few. Then the wind comes and uproots it and turns it upside down, and it is stated, he will be like a lone tree in the desert and will not see when goodness comes. It dwells in parched lands, in the wilderness, in a salty, uninhabited land. But one whose actions extend his wisdom, to what is he likened? To a tree whose branches are few, but whose roots are numerous. Even if all the winds in the world were to come and blow against it, they could not budge it from its place. As it is stated, he will be like a tree planted near water, which spread out its roots along a brook, and does not see when heat comes, whose foliage is ever fresh. It will not worry in a year of drought, and will not stop producing fruit.
Okay, Rabbi Elazar Chisma. So Rabbi Elazar Chisma, he's actually Rabbi Elazar ben Chisma, but he was they started calling him Chisma because of an incident that happened when he went to a certain place and they asked him to be the Baal Tefillah, and he declined. He said he didn't want to. He didn't want to. He said he didn't know how to. And the people were kind of derided him, and he was and he felt very embarrassed, and he went back to Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva said to him, "Yeah, come, I'll help you with this." And he went back to this town, and they asked him again to be Baal Tefillah, and he said, "Okay." And they said, "Oh, Rav Elazar has become hardened. Now his same is like they've tempered the steel." So now they called him Rabbi Elazar of the tempered steel. Anyway, he was apparently a mathematical genius, and it was. Let me see anything else about him. Yeah, there's some other. Kati brings some other stories about him. Just that he was admired particularly for his sharpness of mind. He says, Kinin or Pischenida. Now we've learned in Kinim. You remember in Maseches Kinim with all the bird offerings and all the possibilities of how of what happens when you got 7 offerings that were mixed together and one bird went from one to the other and whatever. So these are all these logical puzzles basically. That's Kinim. And Pischenida is like all of the the calculations of when she lost count of her cycle and when she started bleeding and all these various calculations. So these are things. It says these are the important halachas and yisodas in Torah Sheba'al Peh. The kufos and gematrios, he says, learning the other stuff, the cheshbon of what are the seasons and the gematrias and whatever. He says, okay, they're fine. They're seasonings for chokhmah, but don't substitute them for your actual learning. So like it's cute. It's fun to look at the gematrias and things, but that's not your ikar learning. That should just be something that you use as kind of a dessert after the meal. Okay. Perik Dalet. Ben Zoma. So where do you know Ben Zoma from? You've heard him very recently.
Yes, but I don't remember where. I'm sorry.
In the Pesach Seder.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
it's from that Mishnah in Brachas where Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, "Lo yakolti." He says, "I couldn't." How do you say? Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, "Hariani kabin shivim shana v'lo zachisi shetame yatzias mitzrayim balelos." Says he wanted to find a proof that Yetzias Mitzrayim should be said at night as well, and he couldn't find a proof until Ben Zoma expounded it.
Oh, okay.
Ben Zoma, by the way, is a big darshan. That's his. That was his milah. Was that he was that he knew all these drashas and was able to come up with limudim exactly like this and that we mentioned in that Mishnah in Brachas and in the Haggadah. He was a contemporary of Rabbi Akiva, and he went with Rabbi Akiva into the Pardes Kilo. You know, Ben Zoma was Nifka. He lost his mind from that experience. At any rate, before he lost his mind, he said a famous saying: "Ezehu chacham halomed mikol adam." Who is wise? One who learns from every other person, even somebody who's not as wise as himself. If he's able to open his mind up and learn from other people, that's where you're going to get your true wisdom. Shenemar mikol melamadai hiskalti, says David HaMelech in Tehillim. I've learned from all of the people who teach me. Okay, Ezehu Gibor. So, and who is a hero? Gibor is not a hero. Gibor is somebody who's got gevura, who's got strength. Hakovesh is Yitzro, one who conquers his own inclination. Shenema tov erech apayim migibor umoshel berucho miloched ir. Better to have forbearance, to have that be able to hold back on your anger, than it's greater than a war hero. Umoshel berucho, and somebody who rules over his spirit is greater than one who captures a city. Ezehu Asher, what is a wealthy person? Hasamech bechelko, somebody who is happy with what he has. Shneimar yagia kapecha tiki tochal ashrecha v'tov lach. That's also from Tehillim. Your hands. How do you translate yagia kapecha?
You're praiseworthy and all is well with you.
Yeah. Okay. You'll be happy in this world, and it'll be good for you in the world to come. Ezehu mechubad, who is honored. Hamechabed is habrios, one who honors other people. Okay. Shneimar ki mechabedai achabed uvozai yekalu, because I will honor because those who honor me I will honor, and those who disgrace me will become light in my eyes. And this is a sort of, there's a principle here of reciprocity. It's a very strong principle in human interaction, is that when you honor other people, they will just, of course, it's just a natural thing that they'll say, this is a good person, I'm going to honor him back. Somebody who's mechubad is not because he demands honor for himself, but because he gives honor to other people.
Sure, I can't hear you. I can't see you speaking. I just see the picture of you.
I'm sorry. I forgot to turn on my camera. You should have said so earlier.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Now I know how you feel when I don't turn my camera on.
Right, there you go. Okay. Ben Azai, okay, Ben Azai, first of all, was also part of that same party that went with Rabbi Akiva into Pardes, and Ben Azai died there. He was a very sharp-minded person. By the way, both Ben Zoma and Ben Azai, their first name was Shimon. Shimon ben Azai and Shimon ben Zoma. Why are they never known as by their first name and rather by their last name? They were never ordained as Rabbanim. So they didn't have the honor of being called by their first names.
Yeah, right.
They were known rather by their father's names. And Ben Azai never married, and he even gave drashas about how important it was to get married. And people said to him, like, why aren't you practicing what you preach? He said, what can I do? My heart just desires to spend all my time in Torah. I have no, I don't want to do anything else. So that has been Azai. He says, run to do even a simple mitzvah. You should and flee from even what seems to be a simple avera. Why? Mitzvah goreres mitzvah, because every mitzvah that you do accustoms you to doing mitzvahs. So when you do little ones, it brings you to do more mitzvahs, and you should just grab more and more of them. Mitzvah goreres mitzvah, avera goreres avera, and conversely, one sin leads to another sin. Sheschar mitzvah mitzvah, uschar avera avera, and the reward for a mitzvah is the opportunity to do more mitzvahs, and the reward for an avera is the opportunity to do more averas.
That's right.
Which they lead a person down a path that he wants to go. Okay. Beis Yud.
They teach, they each said three things. From Eliezer said, let your fellows honor be as dear to you as your own, and do not anger easily, and repent one day before your death. Warm yourself opposite the fire of the sages, but beware of their glowing coal, lest you be scorched. For their bite is the bite of a fox, their sting is the sting of a scorpion, and the hiss is the hiss of a serpent. And all their words are like fiery coals. Rabbi Yeshua said, an evil eye, the evil inclination, and the hatred of other people remove a person from this world. Rabbi Yossi says, let your fellow's money be as dear to you as your own. Apply yourselves to study the Torah, for it is not yours by inheritance, and let all your deeds be for the sake of heaven. Okay. All right. On to Adios. Okay. Zion Aleph.
Dalet.
I said Zion Aleph, Dalet.
Yeah.
The Reb Zadok testified concerning flowing spring water, and that one channeled with a walnut leaf, that they are fit. There was an incident in Ahala, that the incident was brought before the court and the chamber of hewn stone, and they ruled it water fit. Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Yaakov, leader of Hadar, testified regarding a jug of katz's ashes that one placed upon a sheretz, that the ashes are tameh. Rabbi Eliezer rules the ashes tahor. And Papayas testified the one who declared two terms of Naziris, that if he shaved for the first Naziris on day 30, then he shaves for the second Naziris on day 60. But if he shaved on day 60 minus 1, he has discharged his obligation, because day 30 is redeemed for him in the count. Rabbi Shuda and Rabbi Papayas testified concerning the offspring of a shalaman, that one should offer it as a shalaman. But Rabbi Eliezer says that the offspring of a shlomen is not offered as a shlomen, and the sages say it is offered. The Papaya said, I testify that we have a cow that was a shlomen sacrificed, and we ate it on Pesach, and we ate it is offering as a shlomen on the festival. Okay.
Okay, Baba Basra.
Okay. If one sold wine or oil to another and it appreciated or depreciated, if it happened before the measure was filled, it belongs to the seller. Once the measure was filled, it belongs to the seller. Once the measure was filled, right?
Yeah, carry on.
Once the measure was filled, it belongs to the buyer. If there was a middleman between them and the barrel broke, it broke for the middleman. He is obligated to let 3 drops drip out for him. If he turned it over and drained it, it belongs to the seller. The storekeeper, however, is not obligated to let 3 drops drip out. And Rabbi Yehuda says only on the eve of Sabbath at dusk is he exempt. If someone sent his son to a storekeeper with a punjan in his hand, and he measured out for him an isser's worth of oil and gave him an isser, if he broke the jar or lost the isser, that storekeeper is liable. Rabbi Yehuda exempts him because he sent him for that purpose. The sages agree with Rabbi Yehuda that when the jar is in the hand of the child and the storekeeper measured into it, the storekeeper is exempt. A wholesaler must clean his measures once in 30 days, and a householder once in 12 months. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says that reverse is true. The storekeeper must clean his measures twice a week. Wipe his weighs once a week, and clean the scales for every weighing. Okay. One more? No. That's it. Okay. And Yevamos. Okay. Daled. Yud Gimel Dalet.
Gimel. Yud Gimel Gimel.
Gimel. Rabbi Eliezer says, when Yaakov says, whenever she stayed for the husband, she is considered like his wife. But whenever she did not stay for her husband, she is not considered like his wife. If a girl refuses her husband, he is permitted to marry her relatives. She is permitted to marry his relatives, and he is not disqualified from the priesthood. If he gave her a bill of divorce, he is prohibited from marrying her relatives. She is prohibited from marrying his relatives, and she is disqualified from the priesthood. If he divorced her and remarried her, and then she refused him and remarried another and was widowed and divorced, she may remarry him. If she refused him and then he married her and then he divorced her and then she married another, she is widowed or divorced, she may not remarry him. This is the rule. In the case of divorce after refusal, she is forbidden to remarry him. In the case of refusal after divorce, she is permitted to remarry him. If a girl refuses her husband and then is married to another who divorces her, then is to another whom she refuses, then to another whom divorces her, then to another whom she refuses, she is forbidden to return to anyone from whom she was divorced, but permitted to return to anyone whom she refused.
Shvius.
If one preserved 3 vegetables in a jar, Rabbi Eliezer says one may eat.
Well, we've done that one. We want Vav.
If one gathers fresh herbs until the moisture has dried up, and if one gathers dry until the second rainfall, leaves of reeds and leaves of vines until they fall from their stems, and if one gathers dry until the second rainfall, Rabbi Akiva says all of them until the second rainfall. Likewise, if one lent a house to his fellow until it rains, until the second rainfall, if he vowed not to derive any benefit from his fellow until the rains, until the second rainfall, until when may the poor enter the orchards, until the second rainfall. From when may we make use of or burn straw and stubble in the 7th year? From the second rainfall. If one had produce of the 7th year and beer time arrived and he allots food for 3 meals for each, and the poor may eat after beer, but not the rich, so Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yoshi says both the poor and the rich may eat after beer.
Okay.
And Caleb. Okay. A porter's cushion is susceptible to becoming tummy with midrash tumor, and a wine strainer is not subject to the tumor of a seed. The hand of an old woman is susceptible to becoming tummy with midrash tumor. The shirt of a harlot that was fashioned like netting is not susceptible to tumor. One makes a garment out of a fishing net, it is tahor, but if he made it out of the net's bottom, it is tummy. If Eliezer ben Yaakov says also if he made a garment out of a fishing net and he doubled it, it is tummy. Concerning a hairnet, if one began to make it from its rim, it remains tahor until one finishes its bottom. If one began at its bottom, it remains tahor until one finishes its rim. Its frontlet is tummy by itself, and the strings are tummy because they are considered attached to it. If a hairnet became torn, it cannot contain a majority of the hair. It is tahor. The threads of a sheet, of a scarf, of hats, and of a head shawl, their measure is 6 finger breadths. The threads of an undergarment, their measure is 10 finger breadths. The threads of an overcoat, of a veil, of a shirt, or of a mantle, their measure is 3 finger breadths. The fringes of an old woman's cap, of an Arab face cover, of kuchin, of a hollow belt, of a turban, of a partition, their measure is whatever the length of the fringes may be.
That's it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. You're off to Davin now, right?
No, I've davened already.
That's right. Okay. Have a great Shabbos.
Have a wonderful Shabbos. See you on Sunday, Mitzvah Hashem.
Bye. Bye.